Hey guys, welcome to the last mock for IZO-808. And in this session, we are going to discuss few of the questions, or rather few of the sample questions which can be asked on the concept of exception handling. So let's begin this with our first question. And question number one says, if given the code snippet, what will be output of the following program? Now, if you observe, there is one class called as a foo, and inside which, in application, we're having a try, which returns nothing, but there is a return statement. There is a finally, and inside finally, I'm having system.out.println finally. Now, whenever you come across such kind of questions, couple of things that you need to remember is what is rule of finally, and what is basically scenario, or you can say where I can put a finally, to be very precise. So you can have a try catch finally, or you can have a try followed by that finally. And one of the important thing that you need to remember is finally block executes irrespective of whether exception occurs or not. So in this particular program, there is a try which returns me something. So there is no output inside try. So I'm not sure that whether exception occurs or whether exception does not occurs, or I'm not rather concerned with that. But what I'm mainly concerned with that what will happen with this finally, because my output statement present over here. So as this rule says that finally block executes irrespective of whatever your program segment does, whether it is generating any exception or not. So answer for such particular questions will be always option A. That means in any of the cases your finally will be executed. So correct answer for this would be answer A, which is nothing but finally. Question number 2. Which of the following statements are true? Option A says that runtime exceptions are the same thing as a checked exception. Option B is runtime exceptions are same thing as unchecked exceptions. You can declare only checked exception, that is option number C. Option D is you can declare only unchecked exception. And option E, you can handle only exception subclasses. Uh, Out of this, if you see option A, runtime exceptions are the same thing as checked exceptions, which is incorrect because runtime is something which happens at or which happens for unchecked exceptions. So option number A is incorrect. Option number 2 is correct because runtime exceptions are the same thing as unchecked exceptions, because as I told you that they occur at your runtime, and runtime exceptions are typically called as unchecked exceptions in Java. I can declare checked as well as unchecked exceptions. So answer for this is option B. That is runtime exceptions are the same things as unchecked exception. Question number 3. Which exceptions will be thrown by the following code? Now the code gives you one snippet where you are having a new integer, that is wrapper, which contains one value, and I'm going to convert this wrapper to string. So this is string obj. So obj representing wrapper, and I'm converting this integer object to string. Of course, I know that there is another way to convert your integer to string. You do have something called as integer dot parsing, by which you can do that. But the program is not basically expect you to understand or utilize that particular concept. What the program expects you is to understand that what will happen if I try to cast the integers to string. In what way, or what are the rules that are there to cast integers to string, or what are the rules rather to cast one data type to other data type. So you need to remember the casting rules, like this 3 is not something which can be converted to string, because of which it will fail at runtime, and option for this will be, or correct answer for this will be class cast exception, that is option B. Question number 4. Which of the following statements is incorrect? Option A is finally block always follow the try catch block. So you might have remember our discussion in question number 1 where I say that finally block is something which is called as a optional block. So it is not compulsory that always finally has to be there. So option A is incorrect. Option A says that finally block always follow try catch block, which is correct because finally will come after try and catch only. Finally block always executes whether exception is handled or not. That's what we proved in question number 1, which is correct. There can be multiple finally blocks followed by try catch block. Now remember, one try catch block or maybe one try block can be connected with one finally block. I cannot have multiple finally blocks on the similar lines of multiple catch blocks. So Option number C is incorrect to me, and as option number C is incorrect, all above are correct is also not possible. So what is incorrect statement to me is option number C, which says that there can be multiple finally blocks followed by try-catch block. Next question, question number 5. Which is a superclass for all the exceptions in Java? So there is exception, there is a runtime exception, there is a throwable, and there is a IO exception. To recall or to revise, I'm going to show this figure, and this is the hierarchy of exceptions that we know. So there is a java.lang based which is present. There is object class which is present in java.lang. Throwable is a subclass of object class, and throwable contains errors and exceptions. And this exception contains two subtypes, runtime exceptions and other exceptions. So superclass for all the exceptions is a throwable class. So answer to this is obviously option C. Question number 6. What will be output of this code? So in the code we have this try catch followed by try block followed by that catch and followed by that finally. Now try block throws new file not found exception. So obviously there is an exception, and we know that whenever the exception is there, it doesn't go to the next line of line inside the try block, it goes to catch block. So the moment it goes to this file not found exception, it generates file not found exception, it is supposed to go to this catch block. So it will go to system.println catch, and we know that after catch or after try always finally will execute if it is written. So finally will execute, and the option for this or the answer for this would be catch and finally. So out of these 6 options, the correct option will be option 6. Question number 7. What is result of following code? Now this code is a bit of a different code that you need to properly practice, because this is one of the question which is going to occur frequently in examination. So this is class foo again, which contains a try block, and it contains a cascaded catch block. So there is a catch block followed by that there is one more catch block. Now if you observe, there is generic exception which is written over here, and this exception will make sure that all the exceptions will be handled inside this. Now if all the exceptions are handled inside this, then file not found exception is already handled inside this exception block, because of which it is said that this will be duplicate exception handled at this particular catch block, and due to this reason such kind of a program will always fail at the time of compilation. So you will get answer C as compilation fail. Next question. What is output of the following program assuming a.txt is not present at location C colon? So I got this public static void main, and I'm using a concept called as ARM, automatic resource management. So you can do that by saying try, inside that you can put up a bracket, and you can have the resources which can be closed automatically so that you don't need to write finally. So I got a try final file reader fr is equal to new file reader c colon a.txt, which says that now there is no file present, because of which the exception will be raised. And the moment exception will be raised, it will go to obviously a catch block. And catch block says that file not found. So correct answer to this is option D, which is file not found. Question number 9. Which of the following are correct statement? User defined exception extends exception, which is always true because we always create a user defined exception by extending exception. So option A is obviously correct. Option B says that user defined exceptions can be even runtime exceptions. So it is possible to create it is possible to use user defined exceptions as a runtime exception as well. So option B is correct. Throws keyword cannot be applied with user defined exception is incorrect, because we have seen in our theory that I can use throws keyword with user defined exception as well. User defined exceptions can be handled using try catch finally, which is correct. And then user defined exceptions can be rethrown. Can I rethrown the exception in the catch block? That is what they are asking. So this is also correct. So correct options for this is A, B, D, and E. And the 10th question, which of the following are not runtime exceptions? Now, meaning of runtime exceptions is that the exceptions which are not which are not unchecked exceptions, or you can say the exceptions which are checked exceptions. So any exceptions which are coming at runtime, that you need to find out, and you have to find out that which is the exception which is not coming at runtime. So array index out of bound will be handled at runtime. Socket exception talks with the resources of networking. So one of the answer could be B, because when I say that I'm going to communicate with the resource, and the checked exception need to be there. So it will be socket exception, option B. Null pointer exception will check the reference pointed to null object or not. So this will happen at runtime. Class cast exception will again happen at runtime, because casting will happen at runtime. So D is also not something which is called as a checked exception. Illegal argument will be again handled at runtime. String index out of bound exceptions again happens at runtime, but class not found exception can be handled or need to be handled at compilation time. So correct option to that is B and G. Okay, so that's it for mock 6 on exception handling. Now, this is the last mock session that we have discussed, because after that there is no another theoretical session that we are going to have. But this is not the end, obviously. At the after this, rather, what I'm going to provide you is a list of different questions in the PDF format, which you can practice at your home and appear for your exam. So, thank you very much, guys, for listening to this mock. And go through my mocks, get certified. By the way, you can visit me on www.facebook.com/Java International Certifications, where you will get a lot of updates related with the examinations, types of the questions, and lot many things. Thank you so much, and all the best, guys.